Hi, today I'm going to talk about how cannabis became illegal in Canada. Hello everyone, my name is Randy Cain and I'm the Humble Grower. Cannabis is now legal in Canada and I'm here to show you what I know about this amazing plant. Prior to 1923, cannabis, hemp, was illegal in Canada. It was used for clothing, for food, for animals to feed them the hemp seeds over the winter. It was wonderful in keeping them wintered well. Cannabis hemp was also used as smoking it. It was eaten, and it was just part of the culture, part of the general food chain. 1923 is when it changed. And there's one name that you need to remember, and it's Emily Murphy, AKA Janie Canuck. She went on to become our first female magistrate in Alberta. She also wrote a series of articles in the Maclean's magazine during the 1920s. Maclean's magazine was a national magazine that was many Canadians read of the day. It was really a corner point, or sort of a cornerstone of where people reached for their knowledge. Janie wrote this, and it had to do with opiums, of course, but also cannabis. What she did during this period of time, this was pulled together eventually into a book called The Black Candle. Janie Canuck herself was the one that made cannabis illegal in Canada. On a federal level, they had really no idea what this so-called cannabis was. It had always been called hemp. Hemp had always been legal. But by calling it cannabis hemp, it kind of confused the whole issue. Emily lobbied for this, and eventually it was brought into law and criminalized. But fascinatingly enough, when it was entered into the Hansard, there was no discussion. All that was said was, a new drug has been added to the schedule. It's also another fascinating point about, I guess, drug policy overall, but let's say cannabis drug policy in North America started here in Canada, right here. Not in the United States, like we've been told, Randolph Hearst and John Anslinger and all the conspiracies there. And I'm sure many of you read The Emperor Wears No Clothes. No, this is where The Emperor Wore No Clothes, was right here. So in terms of it, historically, for me, it's always been a fascinating thing that the battleground has been taking place here in Canada. Seeing as we started it, it's kind of nice that we're willing to finish it. It's a good thing for us, I think, that to come to understand our history, how we arrived at this point, is what I did at the beginning to inform myself so that I could begin to speak and advocate for change. I had to come to understand how this had come about, because it seems so unreasonable, many of the presumptions, as we know today, we've learned. But when I went back into history, you begin to see what was the social atmosphere of the day, what was considered right. Well, the biggest one back then was white was right. Emily Murphy, like so many, were able to tie it to racial divide, whether that be, Asian, or whether it be black or indigenous, or for many, if you were Irish, if you were Scottish, each and every culture coming into this country faced that same wall. But in terms of this is how we were able to do it. It was a time of confederation, trying to bring the East and the West together. The East had no idea what we were facing, but they were willing to say, if that's a problem for you, in order of peace, order, and good government, fine, we will sign up. So that's really kind of an encapsulated view of our history, of how it became illegal. I would recommend, though, that look at some of the links below this, and you could read up for yourself. The Black Candle, fascinating read. It will really fill you in on what was going on in the day, the social views, how did this occur? Fascinating. I was really taken by it when I read it. It was so, like I say, enlightening. It's always good to know where you've come from, and then you know where you're going to go next. Thanks again. See you soon. I hope you found this useful. I would also recommend that you watch the documentary Demystifying Cannabis on Canada's legalization. You can access that by clicking on the link below.